Hello and welcome to this Treepl CMS walkthrough. I'm going to try and keep this video short as I know your time is valuable, but there's a lot to cover, so I want to share as much as possible with you so you have all the information. My name is Adam Wilson. I've been heavily using BC since 2008, so I'm very familiar with all things BC. So at this late stage of BC end of life, you're really going to want a comparative solution to BC. One that you can move your BC sites to without too much re-engineering, as well as a familiar space for building new sites. So work still goes on, right? Migrations need to be cost-effective and time-efficient, and Treepl CMS is as familiar and feature-like as you're going to get. It was built with BC's best aspects in mind. So that makes migrations and new builds much easier for you, as well as your client. So remember, the client is an important factor to consider here. The premise of BC was great, and you've probably spent a lot of time learning it. So why throw all that away? Leveraging your skill set and experience is very valuable in this process of moving away. Treepl CMS is a modernized and greatly improved BC, easily a significant upgrade. And it's only getting better with continual, super fast rollout of new features and enhancements. Before jumping into the admin demo, I wanted to just quickly highlight Treepl CMS documentation and their support. If you're starting out on any new platform, docs and support can make or break your experience. So the Treepl CMS documentation is very thorough. And yes, while some articles are still in progress due to the fast pace of development, whatever is currently missing is made up for with killer support. The partner community support alone will guide you through any issue. And with partners spanning the globe, you'll surely find someone in your time zone if that's of importance for you. Combine that with Treepl CMS support tickets and live chat, you'll never be left in the dark. Jump on Treepl forum, Facebook page, Slack group, and you'll get fast, helpful responses to any issue or question that you might have. If you enjoyed the helpful BC community, Treepl's community is a level above. Speaking of community, Treehouse. This was established to further help partners. It's 100% community driven and provides code snippets, resources, regular online meetups to not only keep you informed, but also to give you a voice in the community and a voice that is heard by the Treepl team. There's also personal partner onboarding assistance. These are like-minded ex-BC partners actively working in Treepl CMS, giving up their time to help you determine if Treepl CMS is right for your sites. Treehouse is like a mashup of BC Sampile, BC Gurus, BC Academy, and Koyuku, if you liked having those types of resources available. But even if you wanted to stay away from the community, if you're not that way inclined, the Treepl team themselves will have your back. Support ticketing is built directly into your partner portal, Treepl projects and services directly in your partner portal, if you want to outsource almost any type of project, large or small, and of course live chat on their website. But let's get back to documentation for just real quick. There's highly detailed migration guides and BC comparisons. Check out the BC comparison chart for a complete overview of BC features and Treepl CMS features. There's docs to help you plan your migrations, to help you decide what migration option is best for each site, be it using the automated migration app, manual step-by-step, or totally outsource it. The ultimate migration guide will look at each BC component step by step and outline your options on a more modular basis. There's tons of info around BC migrations. Or if you always wanted to get more hands-on with Liquid Marker, there's a free, user-friendly Liquid course to get you up to speed. Every aspect of Treepl CMS is being documented in detail to help you do more with the platform. Okay, let's dive into Treepl CMS, starting with the partner portal. And as I said, I'll be trying to move really quick as there are so many features and benefits to Treepl CMS. And the purpose of this video is just to give you a good overview so you can make a decision to check it out further and if you think it suits your needs. So you'll get your own management portal. Similar to Business Catalyst, you'll be able to manage free trial sites and live paid sites. There's integrated backlog voting section, but I'll go more into that at the end of the video. There's a link to the docs. There's a link to your reseller pricing. You can update your partner details, which includes branding elements for white labeling, both the admin and the login screen, with a logo and a background image, which makes for a really nice touch. There's also a tab showing your available migration credits. You can view your account history, download invoices, and as I mentioned earlier in the video, direct access to Treepl services for outsourcing projects and getting that extra help if you need it. And of course, all your support tickets. Right, let's look at creating a site instance. Then we can jump into the admin and take it for a spin. Okay, so just hit Create New Site, enter the site name, choose your temporary domain. So it can be either a treepl.co domain or for white labeling purposes, just a generic trial site domain. Your site name will be added as a subdomain, or you can adjust that if you need to. Choose your site plan, which you can get all the plan details from your reseller pricing page. Choose whether you want a blank slate or start with any of the free templates, and you can check out the free templates on the treepl.co website. Now, you can also duplicate any existing site as well back in your site list. Okay, moving on, there are 5 data centers to choose from. Australia, Canada, Europe, UK, and US. Then just set your country and time zone so that your site instance is in sync with your working time zone. Hit save and the instance will spin up in a minute or two. If you're migrating a site directly from BC using the BC to Treepl migration app, you'll still set up the site instance in this way, but the migration app will transfer all the assets and data and even do a lot of the tag conversions for you as well. Okay, now the instance is ready. Click admin, or just like with BC, simply adding /admin to the end of the site's domain will get you into the admin area. You can, of course, also use secure FTP to access just about all the content of your site. So you can use your favorite code editor for dev work as well. Probably just continue using the same workflow you did with BC. There's no need for retooling or learning any new overly complex setups. Now, Treepl CMS uses single sign-on, so as long as you're logged into the portal or any other site, it'll just let you right in. Okay, so here we are in our new site instance admin. I'm actually going to cheat a little bit here and jump into a template site just so I can show you a bit more of the details on things that are already set up. So I'm going to use this nice sports theme template. Has lots of things going on in it. But like I said, I'm going to move through this really quick just to give you an overview on what sort of depth of features we do have to play with. So the first dashboard screen, similar to BC, we can set up our analytics. And this is analytics pulled directly from Google Analytics. So once you set that up, you'll get some nice graphs appearing here, similar to what you can see faded in the background. We have our new in-context editor. So as BC had that ICE editor, this is the NICE editor, which goes a little bit above. So we can simply go to the web page in context, or your client can, and start editing the content as they need to. Any content that has the ability to use the WYSIWYG editor, or so a WYSIWYG field will have the more advanced styling options available. Content that comes from specific like text fields or a number field or something that's more locked down, you won't get that extra control. So it just helps keep that consistency there with how you've set up the data. Okay, then the main content regions of your site are going to be under content and custom modules. So this is like in BC where you would have all your blogs and events and web apps, all that sort of lives within these two tabs. So you've got content, all your built-in modules, you've got your menu, pages, templates, snippets, which are like content holders, file manager to navigate all your files, forms, blogs, events, banners, gallery and sliders, FAQs, authors, and secure zones. And all those are fully functional. So we'll just have a quick run through of menus, very similar to BC, but a lot more intuitive and easier to use. So we can have any number of menus. Clicking into one, you can see the items. You can have nested items to create drop-downs. Simply clicking on one, you get access to all the details that you might need to edit that menu. We can move along to the settings, which gives us the ability to change the name and the alias that the system uses to call that menu. And then we have our layouts. So our layouts are directly accessible here in the admin and follow the same format of the new menus in BC, where you had the multi-layout structure. So we have layout groups, default group, or you can just create your own groups if you want to have that menu styled differently in different parts of the site, or you just want to create your own new layouts. So going into the group, you have your typically you have your main container layout. Again, there's fully liquid compatible here, so you can use any liquid from the system in these layouts. And then you've got your single item layout and then sub-level items where you can create additional functionality or styling for those particular levels. And these are available through FTP as well, so you can use your editor to directly influence these. Going to pages. So obviously you have our page list. We can set up folders to have sub-level pages. Clicking into one. So yeah, all the typical information that you would expect to see around editing pages. Now, pretty much all the modules in Treepl CMS are set up with the same structure. So the pages are set up with a module that is basically the same as custom modules or the blog. So they're all familiar, they all work in the same way. So it's very easy to get a handle on how you can access that data and how you work with those modules. So obviously things like setting the page template, disabling it, making it secure, and adding search keywords, and of course the content, and both CodeView and WYSIWYG combined there. Within any of the editor sections for any module, you generally have access to the file manager and also the components, which is basically the toolbox that you had in BC, where you can access all the other system modules and generate the relevant liquid based on the criteria of the data that you want to display. So it's all sort of there in a wizard style toolbox, and we can grab the code and paste that in. and the editor works nicely with Liquid. So pasting Liquid directly into the WYSIWYG won't break anything, or you can do it directly in the code view as well. Okay, and there's an additional tab here for SEO, which we have against all module items, no matter what type of item you're editing. You have full SEO capabilities here, title, description. You can add additional links and metadata to the head section. We can actually disable the page for search indexing, set canonical links, SEO priority, which is used in the automatic sitemap, XML files. There's some open graph fields we can populate, and you can enable AMP and insert your specific AMP layout for the page as well. Now, just jumping back to the page list quickly. And again, for all modules, they're all structured the same way. We have the ability to import and export the various items within that module. And there are a variety of settings, depending on the module you're editing, that we can play with and manipulate. Now, in the cases of pages, we can access the layout, so you can control, not only do you have the overall templates of the site, but you have layouts within pages as well. So when you're accessing a folder, you can have a layout for that folder view, and when you're accessing a page, you can have a layout or multiple layouts for a page as well. So combine templates, layouts, and the page itself. You have a lot of flexibility and control on how you actually build and create functionality for your site. The other setting, which is really handy, especially for admins editing the site and controlling content, which is what the CMS is all about, is the table setting. So what the table setting allows you to do is control that initial list view that we saw. When any items, the pages or any items of a module are listed out, you can actually control the headers that display in the admin, which order they're in. You can add additional columns. So you might want to add a column showing the SEO priority for that page. Maybe that's something that your admin want to see on a bulk sort of list view. So we can just find the specific property for the module, SEO priority, and you can adjust the column widths and hit save. And now that's here. And I want to bring that closer to the name. And then when we go back to our page list, we can see we now have this column showing all our SEO priorities for the pages. And we can sort by any of these columns as well that we add in. So you can bunch similar things together. So that's a really big plus over what we had in BC, to be able to customize the actual layout and what the admin sees is really helpful for content editing. So then we have the content templates, which is basically the templates you will use to wrap everything that is rendered for your site. So again, any number of templates, it's up to you. Full Liquid capabilities within those as well. One thing I will go into with templates is the ability to control the CMS related assets that might get automatically added to a layout. So like in BC, if you were running e-commerce or some other module that required further JavaScript or CSS from the actual CMS system, you have the ability to granularly turn those on or off per layouts, per templates. So that's handy if you really want to go that next level in customization and control all those things yourself. You can do that. Then we have snippets, which is basically the equivalent of content holders. So very simple concept of just a little bucket of code or information that you can use in multiple places on the site. These are, again, fully Liquid supported, so you can use any Liquid within these content holders or snippets, and they can be just a really powerful, simple tool. We have our file manager, which is quite nice. You've got your tree structure down the side here. You can expand open and navigate files and folders in either location. You have a thumbnail or list view, a nice drag and drop of multiple files at once. You can create new folders and files. Any text-based files you can actually create and edit in this file manager as well. So if we wanted to access the CSS or JavaScript, clicking on it in the tree menu here, we can actually bring that up in the editor. And we've got access to the components toolbox as well, so we can pull in any other data. Although text files like CSS and JavaScript don't support Liquid just yet, but certainly when you're editing page content or HTML files, you can pull in any of that data. You can also pull this out into a window, full-size window, if you're on small screens or for better visualizing the code. Another neat feature with the file manager, when you're looking at any images, files, pages, let's take these images for example, there's some other controls that we can access with the context menu here. You can rename the files, you can duplicate a file, download it, and you can even add the files to a secure zone directly from the file manager. So this is a big plus coming from BC. Individual files in the file manager can be secured to a secure zone. You don't need to add them to a media download. So module items like pages and custom module items, blogs, can all be secured, but so can files and folders. If you were to secure the images folder, you would secure all the images within as well. Okay, next is forms. Again, quite similar to BC, but probably a bit more intuitive and user-friendly. We'll have a look at this contact form. Obviously, we can set the name of our form. We have a few different types of form depending on their functionality. So checkout form was slightly different. And if we're using a form to subscribe to an event or pay for a specific item, we might use single item, but that's all in the documentation. So we have our default fields that we can just click and add to the form. We can drag these around to order them. We can control the required state or their data type, what type of field they are. And we can add custom fields as well. So any type of field, basically date, time, drop downs, strings, upload fields, anything like that, very similar to BC. We have a choice of recaptured version 2 or recaptured version 3. And there's also the ability to extend the CRM with custom CRM groups or custom forms, as they were called in BC. Once you've set the fields in your form, you can move to the layout and control the layout as you would need to. Forms are also always tricky because when you made a change, you would have to copy out the code, restore the layout to default, which we can do as well. Then get the pieces you needed out, put back in your custom layout and put that back in. It's a bit easier here if you've made a new field. You can go to the little toolbox here and select the field that you wanted. Let's say we added notes. That will copy to your clipboard, and then you can come in and just insert the code for that particular field. So we don't have to try and do this juggling act with our form code, which can get quite tedious. Then moving on to settings, it's where we can control things like the workflows. You can have multiple workflows that the form will trigger, whether it subscribes to a secure zone, and if we want the autoresponder enabled. And we can set up all the details for that. And again, in the body of the email, we can support Liquid. So opening the components toolbox, we can grab any of the site modules and data that we might want to construct that email with as well. So I'll go into the blogs module now, and this will cover a lot of the functionality of all the other modules. So I won't need to go too much into some of the other modules. but we'll just take a look at blogs, because blogs are a special type of module where it is really two modules nested together to create a more complex structure. So where in BC you could create multiple blogs and then have blog posts within all of those blogs. That's where the two modules come into play. You have a module for the parent module that holds each blog, and then when you click through into those blogs, so this blog here is called News, then we can create the blog posts within. Now, having them as two modules like that is quite flexible, because we can actually just access the child module and list all blog posts throughout the whole site, or we can list them in terms of their parent module as well. So lots of flexibility on how you manipulate that data. So we can add new posts. Clicking into a post, you'll see that it's very similar to when we looked at pages. You have all the same sort of information, the standard sort of information you would want. Blog posts have a image field available to them, so we can have that main image for the blog. We also have categories, tags, and authors activated. These are system fields that you can turn on or off. And then, of course, the content area. And we have that SEO tab as well, so we can really get in and manage that SEO information. Now, let's say the blog module isn't quite right for the style of blog that you want to create for your customer. So in BC, you would have to jump out of the blog and go and then create your own blog with web apps. You could choose to do that as well here with custom modules. It's based on the same module structure, so it really doesn't matter. But maybe you're on a lower plan, or you just really want to use the blog because that makes more sense, and you really only just want to add a few more fields in for your specific use case. So we can go back to the blog, go to the edit settings, and we have access to the overall settings that control how the module works, and the properties, so we can add new fields and data points, as well as all the layouts, and again the table, so we can control how this table looks to the admin user. So I'm going to go through the settings for this. This will apply to all other modules as well, so we won't have to revisit this. Basically, we can set the name. You can set the slug, or the URL portion that will be used for this module. And so that's handy for getting rid of like the underscore blog that we sort of came from BC having. You can even get rid of it altogether and just have that access the root level of your domain. So we have site user permissions on just about any module. So this relates to user submitted content. So from the front end, you have logged in users that can submit to basically any module and submit their own blogs or blog posts. You can trigger workflows when that happens as well, similar to what we had for web apps only in BC. We have that for all modules. There's an auto response that can go out with those user permissions, user submitted items as well. We can control what secure zone these are assigned to by default when they're created. And advanced settings, we can control how the module is linked with other modules. So if you remember, I said blogs are two modules nested together, and this is where this happens. You can allow creating foreign items from other existing custom modules. So in here, we go and choose what other module from the system we want to sort of link to this. And as you can see, it's not just the custom modules, it's not just the system modules, but it's pages as well, page folders, authors, FAQs. So really flexible on how you can link things together. You can also allow multiple parent items. So think a shopping cart where a product can exist in multiple categories or catalogs. You can do that with all the modules as well, where any child item can exist in multiple parent items. Okay, then we have some view controls. So back in the list view in the admin, You can control how the admin sees those lists, whether it's a tree view structure or just a regular list view, and even a simplified tree view where you just basically looks like the menus did, where you just have the little arrow pulling down just a simple name list. You don't have the whole table. And then you can set what view is the default view for that particular module. So each module has its own purpose, and you may want to display the content in different ways as well. And then we can set some defaults on how new items are created, what items you can create from within which module. So if you're in the parent module, you might want to be able to create just other parent items, or you may want to be able to create parent items as well as child items, and then choose which parent they belong to. Or you may want to restrict how that works, so it's a bit more intuitive depending on the module and use case that you have. So lots of flexibility in how we set up the modules. And then we can come and control the actual properties or the fields that make up the data. So the default properties you can turn on or off. So if you're not using tags and authors, you can turn them off to unclutter the admin space. And that's helpful to not confuse the admin editors, whether they have to fill in that field or trying to remember what that was for. If it's not needed, we can just take it out. Modules can be set up with multiple detail layouts that we can choose from as well. So an item doesn't always have to link through to the same detail layout. Each item could have its own detail layout depending on your needs. So they're the default settings. We can create custom properties as well, which can consist of all manner of fields. Obviously the drop-downs, radio boxes, media, which is image files or other uploaded files, true false booleans, or WYSIWYG fields as well. And the other interesting fields, we have the data source like we had in BC for web apps, where you could have a field that links to another module item. But with Treepl CMS data sources, you can link to any other module, whether it's a built-in system module, a new custom module, whether it's a page or an author or anything like that. We can also, the new field that we have here is the CRM record, where we can actually link to a CRM contact. And that's really helpful when you're creating like member zones or community sites where they're creating content and you want to be able to link to owners of that content or showcase the connection between an owner and items. And there's some GDPR compliance systems in place for this as well to help you control and stay compliant with GDPR and things like that. Okay, so you can flesh out modules just like we could with web apps, but you can do it with just about any module. Then of course we can move to the layouts. And as I said, any number of layouts. You're not restricted here. Multiple list layouts, multiple detail layouts. When you have a nested module structure like we do here with the parent blog and the blog items, you will see both groups of layouts here. So you can access and control all these from the one place. And of course the table structure like I showed in the pages. Okay, so like I said, that pretty much covers how all modules work. So once you're familiar with one, you know how everything works basically. Events are slightly different in that they have just some special system fields for managing the event start and end dates and basically allowing subscriptions to that item, but essentially they're the same structure as modules. And really the only other module that's a little different is the e-commerce module. So again, it's set up with the same module structure. You can expand on it in the same way, but it has a few more system fields for things like pricing. Actually, it has a lot more capability in terms of grouping, inventory control, pricing, categories, things like that. So I'll go into that in a little bit. But so banners, gallery and sliders, FAQs, all just work on the same principle. Okay, and then we have secure zones, so a specific feature here for controlling secure zones, very similar to BC. Set up multiple secure zones. We can set up whether it's a paid secure zone on a daily, weekly, monthly, or yearly basis. Set up the pricing and multiple currencies depending on what you have set up for your site. We can control the secured content from here as well. We can view the members that are subscribed to this zone, and we can also control the files and folders that are secured. So remember, in BC we could secure items, which we can do here on step 2, but in Treepl we can actually secure files and folders directly from the file manager as well. Okay, and then next we have the custom modules. So this is basically the same as I showed you before, that module structure that is extremely flexible and powerful, and you can set that up in any way you like. Custom modules is just where we can build our own from scratch. So that's basically the web apps on steroids equivalent. And then we have the CRM. So obviously where contacts are stored, form submissions are captured from the front end, any event bookings from the event module are stored in here, orders from the e-commerce section, and then advanced CRM groups. So this is like the extension to the CRM forms that we had in BC, and you can create new groups with new fields and attach them to various things, not just CRM contacts. You can attach them to orders and form submissions, things like that. So huge capability there to extend the CRM to whatever data structure you need it to be. Okay, then we have the email notifications, so where you can manage your workflows, your email templates, and all the system emails as well. So any system email that's sent out for password resets and inviting admin users, gift vouchers from the e-commerce, and things like that. And then we have our email marketing section. So this is tied in with the integration with MailChimp. So you can set up the MailChimp API in here so it communicates with MailChimp. And what that will do is if you have a subscribe field in a form, that subscription will go through to MailChimp. The contact will be added to MailChimp, and the subscription will be synchronized. You can manage mailing lists, so you can create mailing lists here in the admin that will then be pushed to MailChimp, and you can even create the campaigns within the admin, and they will push through to campaigns in MailChimp. But the beauty here is that the synchronization happens for subscribed users, so even if your client is going to use MailChimp directly, you can still have that connection there with your database and the CRM. Okay, then we move down to e-commerce. So e-commerce is pretty much a complete copy of what BC had, plus just all that nicer management control flexibility that we have with the modules, because it's built on the same structure and principle as modules. So products is a module and catalogs is a module that are nested and linked together. So very similar to what we saw with the other modules. You have your items, you can click through and you'll see most of the same types of information that we would expect. Of course, products have a lot more system fields that are added to it for large and small image, whether it's on sale, if it's a gift voucher, all the product width and height for shipping, and just all those, basically the same features we have in BC, plus our other nice added features in here as well, which are only getting better as the team develop more and more features on top. But again, we're not limited to the 4 custom fields we had in BC, which were very limited. Now we are open to any number of any type of custom field, whether it's a drop-down or number or a WYSIWYG field. You can just add that to a product. And then we have all these other tabs along here which build out the full functionality of e-commerce. So the ability to set prices against products, and again, multiple currency, wholesale price, enable volume discount. But again, in this case, we have any number of thresholds. We're not limited to, I think, 4 it was in BC, something like that. The ability to manage tax, of course. Catalogs, so we can easily manage what catalogs this product belongs to. Attributes, we can obviously set the attribute group and what sort of type of group that is, whether it affects inventory or not, and we can create new options. Assign an image or a price. And the really nice thing with attributes here is these are all drag and droppable. So in BC, once you set up the structure of your attributes, that was it. If you wanted to change the order, you would have to just recreate them all, which was a really big nightmare. But you can grab the handles here and drag them around. If you have multiple items, you can drag them around, even drag the attribute groups around to reorder them. Now, where you saw me enable the add to inventory option, so really powerful inventory control as well. So if you enable inventory control, you can obviously control the inventory for this whole single product. But if you have a lot of attributes that you want to manage inventory on as well, you can generate variations, and that will automatically populate all the attributes into their own inventory item, and then you can set the stock on an individual basis for all those attributes, and set the product codes and all that sort of stuff. So the shopping cart will also keep track of any pre-orders if you have that enabled. It'll also tell you how many items are currently in shopping carts in the live environment, and you can control low stock thresholds and notifications and things like that. So again, I'm just jumping through this real quick, but there's a lot involved with e-commerce. So we have related items. If you want to connect other items together for like promotional purposes, or we have grouped items. So if you want to actually physically sort of group them together into looking like one item. And then, of course, the SEO tab, which we saw before, so you can control all those SEO aspects. Okay, so I won't go into catalogs, but it's basically the same setup as all the module items. Discount codes. So again, you can set up discount codes, much the same as VC. We've got all the same rule sets that you can apply, fixed or percentage amounts, free shipping, when the gift voucher can apply, if it's a minimum order value or a minimum amount of products, expiry, redemptions, pretty much the same deal there, quite flexible. Gift vouchers. Again, gift vouchers can be created through the shopping cart via users purchasing them for somebody else. Same sort of process, or you can manually create them for an individual in the admin as well. Taxes can all be set up. If you're in the US, all the US state-based taxes can be automatically generated, so you don't have to tediously set all those up. Shipping options. We have the manual setup shipping options, which basically gives us all those same controls we have in BC, all the same rule sets on when that shipping might apply and limitations to categories or countries. And we also have a lot of integrated shipping options. So Australia Post, FedEx, UPS, USPS, Canada Post, and New Zealand Post. And I'm sure there'll be more added ongoing as well. And I'll just jump back so we can have a quick look at the settings on this one here. So under the settings, you can see you've got multiple rules and options, much like we had in BC. Okay, and we have some advanced shopping cart settings as well. So you can adjust the lifetime of the cart and also control what units you want to work with in terms of the shipping dimensions and weights. Okay, and then we have the report section for custom reporting. Again, very similar to BC custom reporting. We can choose the type of report we want, so context and cases, or context and orders. And they're still building on this, so you will get more types available soon. And then you can work your way through, very similar to BC, where you had the fields that you want output in the report, and then the filters. So you can filter on any field that is in that data set, not just the fields that you're pulling into the report. And then, of course, the results, where you can export that as an Excel file. All right, and then settings is where most of the just general site or admin settings are managed from. We can have various settings around the domain, the currencies and formats that apply to that domain, and we can set up some authentication around what domains you're going to be using for sending out emails. So system emails can go out under your email address, and we can verify those email domains as well. Site information is a fantastic tool. Previously it was a external BC app from the BC App Store. So they've sort of taken that idea and it's built into the platform. So basically you can just set up any group of fields that you can then use throughout the site, anywhere throughout the site, using Liquid. So you can see we can create a group. So this group's been set up here called Site Settings. So we've got things like the logo, the footer logo, and the footer text. We can add a new property to that group, and it can be a date time field, a media field, text. Okay, and you can go through and do that, set up any number of groups for various sections or types of content that you're creating, and set up any number of properties. So this is really handy for the admin users. So anyone who was using that app in their BC sites will understand the power of that and the flexibility. So this is built in and you can use that straight away. We have categories, basically the same, where you can set up these global categorizations that you can apply to any of the other modules if you turn categories on. System pages, so we have access to all the 401s, 403s, the checkout page, reset password pages, and the default form submission page, things like that. And again, all these support Liquid. We have our payment setup, where you can set up your gateways per country. Also have PayPal, which can be like a secondary gateway. Admin users, so obviously you can invite admin users to your site and assign them to roles. So next we have admin user roles. So with the admin user roles, you have very fine-grained control on what you can do. When you set up a new role, we'll just say we'll call this admins. You can see here we've got tick boxes against pretty much every single little object and item in the admin. And then most of those have more items within them, so you can really control whether they can just view them or whether they can edit them or add them or delete items. So maybe you don't want any admin to be able to delete items, but you want them to be able to create and view items. So you can turn off, can delete module or can delete items. So you can even control whether they can just delete the whole module itself or just items within it. So really, really fine-grained control on the permissions that you give admin users. And then further on customizing the admin for the people who are going to be working in it is the admin menu configurator. So we kind of had this principle in BC, if you were to get into the BC app side of things, where you can control parts of the admin menu. Well, here we have full control over the admin menu. You could completely strip it out if you wanted to. You can create just a copy of it and take one thing out, or you can even add your own links to external pages. So a lot of control in how you present your specific admin to your specific client for their specific site. Even just moving some things around. Okay, so if you have those clients that really get lost in the admin because there's too many things there they're not using, just strip them out or group things together that they need to use. Then we have URL redirects, so you can of course control any redirects that you need. The sitemap, so the sitemap can be generated automatically. You can turn it on to be generated, or you can generate it yourself by clicking the button, or you can just edit it yourself and type in here or adjust it. So multiple ways on how you want to manage that sitemap. The site analytics is just where we go to set up the analytics, and there's very detailed documentation on the exact steps on setting this up. It's not hard, but there's just a few steps to work through the Google Analytics and the API setup side of things. But that will get Google Analytics working on your site. You don't have to put in the tracking code or anything. It will just all be automatically generated, and it will give you that nice dashboard at the start that we talked about. So really good to be able to pull in Google Analytics and not have that conflict between what the CMS Analytics is saying to what Google is saying. So it's all just going to be Google Analytics. And then just some miscellaneous settings. So we can control how the admin editor, a few options in the admin editor. We can control the recapture score. So if you've got a site that's sort of getting a few issues with people submitting forms and the recapture trying to block them or making it hard for them, you can lower or raise that score to control that. And then on a global sense, you can turn off those CMS assets that I mentioned before, where we could control them on a template level. You can control them on a global level here as well. And then lastly, we have the SEO settings. So basically you can set the site's primary language, primary country, and this is where we can turn on the automation of the sitemap XML file. We can input the actual primary domain name that we want used in that XML file, and we can exclude certain modules from just being put in the sitemap altogether. So particularly useful for things like banners or sliders, because you don't necessarily have a detailed page that they go to, so you don't want those items being picked up. And then there's a bulk enable or disable all items throughout the site for search engine indexing. Okay, just quickly up in this gear icon we have some extra functionality like account suspension, which is a really cool feature for helping get those bills paid when clients are not paying for their site. You can temporarily soft suspend or hard suspend their site. So basically a soft suspend will put up a pop-up over the top of their site that any user will have to click through every time the page loads to get to the site, and you can customize that messaging saying that the account is overdue or has been suspended for whatever reason. And then you have a hard suspend where you can just block the entire site altogether, with a custom message that you can control. So that's a really handy feature to have, which was always hard to deal with in BC. You could really turn a site off in any way. So there's also a section for beta features. So as new features roll out, some might be in testing mode where you can try them before they're fully released, so that you can come in and turn those on and off here. So that's really helpful for debugging and testing things out and getting ready for new features when they come along. Okay, so that was a really quick run through of as many features as I could do for Treepl CMS. And like I said, there's more features coming every few weeks, so a lot to take in, but really familiar to the features that BC had. So you should find yourself at home really well, but you've got all that advanced functionality and flexibility to go above and beyond what you were doing in BC. So quickly summing up, with Treepl CMS, you're getting something that's really familiar for you and your clients, but it's drastically upgraded and modernized. Basically, everything you wanted BC to become. And this brings me back to the backlog, which I mentioned earlier that I wanted to come back to. So this is the ultimate testament to how much the Treepl CMS team value and want your feedback. As a true partner, your voice is heard and it helps shape the features of the platform. You can look through the backlog on the Treepl CMS website. You can see where certain features are at in development or the review process. But also, built into your partner portal, you'll actually have access to vote on items that are important to you. So this whole backlog system and voting really shows how valued and important you are as a partner when you come on board. Treepl CMS, going above and beyond what BC was, allows you to onboard yourself, your team, even your clients much quicker than any other platform. It allows you to make migrations faster and more seamless than any other platform. It has a similar methodology of having everything accessible under one roof, but in Treepl CMS case, that really is true. I mean, you have full liquid implementation everywhere, so you really do have access to the data in any place that you need it. And instead of being just one small product from a large corporation, Treepl CMS is from a solid, growing development team, super dedicated to building their product. And as importantly, they have a strong passion to support and help the BC community, even more so now when you need it the most. So check out the partner program. There's options there for everyone, and I'm confident that if you liked BC, you'll love Treepl CMS.